Today, Don Jr. testified in the New York civil fraud trial challenging the Trump family's business practices. Former President Trump's eldest son briefly sat with the defense team for photographers before taking the stand this afternoon, cracking a few jokes.
I should have worn makeup.
Don Jr. and his brother Eric are listed as defendants in the $250 million lawsuit brought by the New York Attorney General's office against the Trump Organization. Sister Ivanka was also named, but an appeals court dismissed those claims, all three, and Donald Trump himself will testify over the next week. Prosecutors accused the Trump children of knowingly participating in a scheme to inflate their father's net worth to obtain financial benefits like better loan, insurance policy terms. We'll talk to someone who's inside the courtroom in a moment, but first, Don Jr. tried to answer questions about why former Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg departed the family's firm, saying because some legal issues he got himself into. Weisselberg pled guilty to tax evasion charges last year. He'd also testify that he didn't recall being involved in collecting the Trump Organization's financial statements when his father was president, even though Don Jr. had the responsibility to sign off on those documents, saying he relied heavily on accountants. I wasn't involved in the compilation of this statement of financial condition. State Attorney Colleen Faraday asking, did you work on the statement of financial condition for June 30th, 2017? Don Jr., I did not. Accountants worked on it. That's what we paid them to do. When Trump became president, he handed day-to-day management of his real estate empire to his eldest sons, Eric, overseeing the company's operations. Don Jr. ran the company's property development. Don Jr. certified the accuracy of financial statements between 2016 and 2021, each of which the New York Attorney General alleges were inflated. Joining me now is Dan Alexander. He's a senior editor at Forbes who was in court today for Don Jr.'s testimony. Thanks very much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so first, give us the sense of the showdown aspect of this, of Don Jr. being in court.
Well, you know, Don Jr. walks in. He appears confident, as you said. You know, he sits down in front of the photographers, cracks a couple of jokes, and honestly, his mood stayed consistent throughout the testimony. He, on many occasions, was joking with the judge, sometimes with the audience. He'd give out a big laugh, and then, you know, a few seconds later, his face would narrow and he'd go back to business. He understands that this is a serious case, but he appears confident on the stand.
What is the heart of his defense?
The heart of his defense is, I didn't know. The documents here contradict that. So the documents at the heart of this case, which are these net worth documents, for many of the years say that he was the person who was responsible for the documents. And yet here he is sitting up on the stand saying, I didn't have anything to do with this. I put it all on the accountants, and really I don't know anything about accounting or any of this stuff, and isn't this funny, and I'm here.
All right, let me play. This is actually from a deposition, which we do have on camera, from last summer, where he laid out what sounds like part of this defense. Let's listen.
What do they teach you about generally accepted accounting principles in Wharton?
Well, I'm not an accountant, but that they are generally accepted.
Anything else?
That's pretty much what I remember from Accounting 101. So.
Have you told me everything you know about GAAP?
Basically.
Thank you. So, fair to say you've never been employed in a position that required you to apply GAAP to your work?
No, not that I'm aware of.
So he's basically saying he doesn't know anything about accounting. Who's asking those questions, by the way?
So that's the state attorney.
Why is she cracking up like this is all fun and games?
That's sort of her demeanor, too. She
Really?
also is sort of jovial in the courtroom with Don Jr., with the judge. You know, everybody has their different style, and that's her style.
Well, it's a little odd, right? I mean, if it's this, like, serious situation where she's alleging that he kind of, you know, ripped off the state of all this money, and she's like, oh, haha, I know, you knew nothing about accounting, and they didn't teach you anything at Wharton.
Both of their demeanors are a little bit odd. You know, she's sort of doing this very friendly, haha, this is all sort of jokes, presentation, and meanwhile, he's up there, just as he was in that deposition, cracking jokes here and there while saying, I know absolutely nothing about accounting or the numbers that are at the heart of this case.
No jury, right?
There's no jury.
So this is just up to the same judge who's kind of already ruled on the major issues here.
He has ruled that Donald Trump and several of his associates are personally liable for fraud.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.